Hey, welcome back. Here we are, random vlog number 2. Hopefully you watched the first one, then you'll have a better idea what's going on here today. So what we have a new engine block for Eric's Jeep build. We are tearing into Bill's Ford 88 Explorer axle for his Volvo build. So hopefully today we're going to get some good progress on this, get some good progress on that. I'll show you what I'm doing to that. So roll the intro and let's get into it. All right, so here we go. Let's get into this. Also, sorry about the noise. It's cold. Furnace is on for the first time this year. So anyway, where we left off the last video, this is the 302 build from my buddy Eric for his Jeep. YJ, LJ, whatever J it is. The first motor we started with, engine block, had a crack in it. It had a lot of rust in the cooling jackets. It had apparently been sitting around for many years with water in it and did some major damage to it. So Eric went and picked up another block from another gentleman in Team Ford here, Brad. Appreciate that. Started cleaning it up so far. It looks really good. About to run it over to my machinist, and we're going to check the bores on it, see if they're good enough to leave it standard bore. Then we can just continue on with the original motors, pistons, and rods. If not, then Eric's going to have to make a decision on whether he wants to bore it or start over with another block, find another one with a clean stock bore. But so far it looks good. I just kind of degreased it, cleaned it up, kind of hit it with a propane torch, smoked out all the oils and everything in the metal, so it looks real good. Now this 88, what I'm going to do today is we're going to go ahead and get this right side axle shaft out. I'm going to mark it up. That is the factory short side. What I need to do is I'm going to lengthen this axle. We're going to make it so both axle tubes are the same length on both sides to make this diff centered, because that's what Bill needs for his Volvo build. So we're going to go ahead and make this axle over here 2 7/8 inches longer. And I'll show you how I'm going to accomplish that. First, I'm going to go ahead and pull the cross pin, get this axle shaft out, get some stuff cleaned up on it. I'll mark the tube on where I'm going to cut it, and we'll get into that. Okay. Axle is tore down, with the exception leaving the pinion in it. I'm not messing with that. But carrier's out, bearings are out, pulling out the axle seals and the axle bearings. So I'll do this one over here still, get that clear, and then I'm gonna go ahead and mark it up and get ready to cut it. All right, got my axle bearing puller, my slide hammer. I don't even bother messing with pulling the axle seal off separately. I'll just hammer them both out together. Let the bearing pull the seal out. This axle's really rusty on the end of the tubes here, so. All right, there she is. Man, that was a huge pain in the ass. Well, I'm going to feel that tomorrow. All right. That's done. All right, let's mark this thing and let me show you how I'm going to cut it. Okay. So I'm about ready to make my cut here. So first thing I wanted to do is I wanted to put a reference mark all the way across the tube here. So I used a straight edge, put a mark. That way when I cut it, when I add the new piece in, all I have to do is line up my marks again with my straight edge, and I know my flange here that holds the caliper bracket is going to be everything's still going to be the same place as it was. So what I have here, I have a piece of 3-inch diameter 250 wall tubing, and this is what I'm going to add in here. 2 7/8 of an inch longer is what it needs to be. That's what this already is. I did this before on another axle, and this is the leftover piece that I used to add to that one. So we're going to I think right about here is where I'm going to make my cut. And what's the best way to make the cut? Well, I don't know if this is the best way to make the cut, but what I found in all of these 8/8s that I've modified, this is the way to get the straightest and truest edge to build off of, whether you're adding a piece or just cutting out this piece and shortening it and welding it back up. So what I'm going to use is my rigid tube cutter. This monster, it's a lot of work, round and round and round, just like, doing brake lines, fuel lines, or whatever, but on a massive scale. So I like this one because the way it, this little, I don't know what you call it, this little clamp inside here, it's going to hold the tube. As long as the tube is straight, it's going to cut straight. And like I said, once it starts establishing a cut, it's pretty much impossible for this thing to go off track. So it's just cut, twist, until I cut through all that tube and it falls off. So let's do it. This is not going to be fun, but to me, this is the best way. So let's get after it. Okay, got the tube cutter on. Normally, when I'm cutting these down, what I try to get is info either from, if I'm doing this for somebody, or like for me, the first one I ever did was for my '88 Ranger, my little the little white turbo truck. It's way back on the channel. That was a leaf spring truck, so it had a leaf spring perch. So what I did was, when I cut the long side down and I shortened it up, I made my cut in the tube right in the center of where my leaf spring perch would be. So it would kind of work as a bridge, as a bracket, basically, to reinforce. After I weld the tube back together, now I have a bracket that's welded on both sides that I cut, just to add a little more strength to it. This is real thick tubing, so you can get a nice deep root weld, and then you just kind of build and build and build. So it's going to be a strong weld anyway. But this, because it's going into a Volvo, the way it was explained to me is the lower control arms basically are just like a clamp that goes around the axle tube. Kind of reminds me of like the Bronco Dana 44s, my radius arm setups, how they have the C bushings and the clamps that go around that hold the axle tube. Sounds like it's kind of the same way, so that's not really going to provide any additional strength. So there is no good place, bad place to make this cut, so I just kind of indiscriminately picked that place. So we're all clamped up. Now I'm just going to start spinning this around and making the cut. It's going to take a few minutes here to get through all that. But when I'm done, I'm going to be left with the truest, most perfect surface to butt everything back up and weld it all back together. So this is, it looks like I'm going to have to get up a little bit higher off the ground so I can make this swing with the handle here. So anyway, I'm going to get cutting on this. I won't bore you with that. We'll come back once this is 2 pieces. Okay, I've already made a couple passes. You see, I got a nice straight, already pretty deep already, actually. So gonna keep on spinning it, and we'll get her cut. Do about 2 passes, and I give it another half turn. Be nice with an extra person here to help steady this, but do what you got to do here. All right. Okay, so I took my grinder with the flap wheel on it, went over this edge here on the tube. I beveled it back so I can get a nice deep weld in there once the tubes are buttered up to it. Got to do the same to this end here. I'm going to go around. Kind of see it, when it starts cutting, it kind of mushrooms the end of the tube. Kind of see that, I hope. So anyway, going to grind all that off, bevel this back. Then we'll go ahead and we'll get out the new piece, the alignment bar. I'll get that all chucked up in there. We'll clamp it all together, make sure everything's straight, and then we'll just go ahead and do a couple tack welds to kind of hold everything in place. The trick is not to overheat it on one side more than the other. You kind of got to jump around, north, east, south, west, just keep doing that and going, tacking it in, getting it in. Once we know it's good and welded together, then I can go ahead and burn it all in, and the alignment bar will keep it all straight. So let's get this one cleaned up, and we'll get it all mocked up, make sure everything's lined up right, and then we'll burn it in. Okay, got everything mocked up. The alignment bar is in. This alignment bar is for a Ford 9-inch, so it's not exactly for this axle, but I can make it work. The cones there that would go in the end of the axle tube for the 9-inch, they're too big for this 8.8. But fortunately, the factory axle bearings are the right size for the bar and obviously for the tube. So I have axle bearings in both ends to hold it straight there. I have the bearings and the races inside the caps. Those are just snug down, centered in the center of the diff. And then the tube, call it a redneck if you want, but it works. Just got the two pieces of channel clamped around both pieces of tube with hose clamps, and that just kind of naturally centers everything. So there's the piece that's going to get welded in. There's my line, you can see, for keeping it all true. So now I'm just going to go ahead and tack it in. Then I can take the clamps and those pieces of metal off. Then I can go ahead and burn it in. All right. There it is. 3 pieces become 1. Yep. Just got the doing the first pass of the grinder. Gonna grind down my welds, look for any low spots. I'll go back over, hit them again, fill them all in. Kind of see the line there. Some of the low spots. So I'll get all those hit, and we'll go ahead and sand her down, polish it up, make it look real nice. And we'll call that done. All right. It's done. It's all cleaned up, ground down. So now I just got to clean it, and I guess I am going to go ahead and assemble everything. So we're going to change all the bearings, races, seals, and we're going to throw some clutches in the factory posi as well. And then we'll get her back to Bill. But for now, the fab part is done. Okay, moving on to the bench now. I got the axle, I got the new races pressed in. The pinion is in. I used a solid, should have videoed that, but I didn't. Not using a crush collar, going to use a solid pinion spacer. And you have to kind of play around with the shim stack thickness to get the right preload on the pinion. I already got that done. I got that where I'm happy with it. So now I got the posi here all tore apart. Got the original clutch packs out. And we have here is a Ford Motorsport. This would be considered, I guess, the Cobra clutch kit for the posi. They got carbon fiber pads on them. I use these in my Thunderbird. They work really good. So I got this all cleaned up. I'm going to go ahead and remove all the old clutches from the side gears, install the new ones. I got to soak these in some gear oil first, get them nice and slippery, and then we'll go ahead and throw them together, throw this together, and then install this new S spring, which is always a joy to get squeezed back in there. So get this posi rebuilt, change bearings on it, and then I can go ahead and throw it back together. Luckily, I'm not changing the gear ratio, so shouldn't have to worry about changing the shim stack on the side of the carrier. It's going to put in the same ones that came out, and then I'll mark the gears, run it, and get a pattern, see what it looks like. Everything should be good, and then we'll button it up and we'll call it done. All right, differential is done. New clutch packs, new S spring, everything's installed, everything's cleaned up. Reinstalled it with the original shims, bearing caps on the correct way. Everything's looking really good here. So I'm going to go ahead and grab some marking compound. We're going to put a mark on it, see what it looks like. And if it's good, we're going to send it home. Okay, I got some marking compound on the gears here. I'm going to drag my hand on the pinion flange just for a little bit of resistance. And we're going to go ahead and roll this around. Back and forth. Real good on the pinion. And bring it up around here. Oh yeah. All right. You can see the pattern. It's not all the way in the root of the gear. Looks like it's right about in the middle. Same with the coast side. Coast looks good. All right. I'm gonna throw my dial indicator on there, get a measurement of the backlash, and I'm gonna guess it feels like about 8 thou. Let's find out. Okay. Zeroed out. Come on, damn it, stay. There we go. It's 9 thousandths. I was off by 1. That's going to be good for used gear. Everything sets up good. I like the pattern. That's it. One thing I'm going to do now is pull back off the pinion flange. I didn't install the pinion seal because I didn't know how many times I'd have to take that off. Everything looks good, so I can go ahead and pull the pinion flange off, put in the new pinion seal, pinion flange, and then I have a brand new pinion nut. I always use the old nut for setup, so we're good. Axle bearings, so the axle's in it, diff cover, and Bill can pick it up. All right, and that's it. That's as far as I can go. Bill still doesn't have an axle for me, so all he'll have to do when he gets it home is slide the other axle in, C-clip, put the cross pin in, and then button up the diff cover. But my work here is done. We are checking one project completely off the list. Yes. So, moving on. Eric's motor. The block is still at the machine shop. Got the wrong cam bearings for it, but the block checked out good. Bores are good. And I'll get that back here soon and hopefully assembling it. Yeah, I like that. Anyway, that's a wrap for the Volvo 88. All right, axle is ready for pickup. And now, moving on to the LS Bronco 2. It's finally inside. I had to let the air out of the rear ORIs just to get it under my garage door. But it's in here. So we will be starting some videos on building the cooling system for this and a bunch of other stuff too. So anyway, here it is. It's done. I think that's going to be a wrap. All right, well, that's going to wrap up Random Vlog number 2. Got at least one project completely done, out of my hair. Got the engine project on the way, and now I'm about to get into this. So stay tuned. If you're interested in this, don't forget on Build It, Wheel It, Explore It, Dan Bastion's channel is where this whole truck was built. All the suspension, you can see the LS motor, all the drivetrain stuff. I'm just going to be finishing up a few little odds and ends on it, and then we're going to get it up and running over here. So you can see the remainder of the build on this channel, and if you want to see all the previous stuff, go check out Dan's channel at Build It, Wheel It, Explore It. And yeah, that's it. I'm out of here. Gonna go rest, and then we're gonna get hitting on this in the morning. So anyway, thanks for watching. Appreciate you. Goodbye.